Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Our program begins today on a sad note. We have lost a longtime member of the Across the Fence family. For over a quarter century, Carolyn Peak was part of our monthly In the Kitchen program. She served up favorite dishes and shared cooking tips with all our viewers. Carolyn passed away on Christmas Day after a battle with cancer. She was 71 years old. Here's a look back at our friend who loved to share her love of cooking.
It's the first Thursday of the month, and with me are our chefs, Carolyn Peak from Williamstown and Deb Plumley and Lynn Jarvis, both from South Hero.
For more than 25 years, Carolyn was a fixture on our monthly recipe program.
I think you have some good things to share with us
today.
today.
I do, but did you realize that dessert spelled backwards is stressed?
Her philosophy was, life's short, eat dessert first, and she was a big fan of using her crock pots.
My first one is in my slow cooker. Lastly, I have a slow cooker sweet cornbread blackberry cobbler, and I made that especially for Lynn because I know he likes cornbread.
I do.
Again, it's made in the slow cooker.
As we all know, Carolyn is always talking about and using her vintage crock pots to whip up some great recipes, so we're going to let her start off.
Okay. Well, I walked in and they said, here comes the queen of crock pots. So I said, and when the queen arrives, that's on time. Anyway, I have some kind of neat, fun recipes today, and I'm going to start right off. This is a pizza fondue.
She joined the In the Kitchen team at the request of then-producer Lynn Jarvis in the early 1990s. The two were both fans of the culinary arts at Vermont's fairs and field days.
Thank you, Carolyn, and I understand you'll be judging at Tunbridge Fair.
Yes, I will.
Good for you.
I know. That's so much fun.
The pair had fun together, both off and on the air.
You know, I think that recipe was from 1976.
Oh, yes, I think you're right.
So it's been around a while.
Yes, it has.
I guess we could say it stood the test of time.
Probably.
Friends and food were important parts of Carolyn's life.
I work on the KISS principle. Keep it simple, sweetie.
But faith and family came first. She would take the food from the Across the Fence programs to deliver to those less fortunate, and her devotion to husband Howard was always evident.
Now, something that my husband and I really like on most anything, but on the gingerbread, is maple syrup, and there you've got your dessert. So take your picks, and
I could take them all.
you could take them all, yep. Take some home with you when we're done.
Viewers appreciated Carolyn's down-to-earth style.
I do have to tell you, I am meeting so many of our viewers all over the place.
Great.
Including, we were down at Dartmouth Hospital, and there was a lady there, and she said, oh, you're the lady from Across the Fence.
For more than 25 years, she definitely was the lady from Across the Fence.
The college winter sports season kicks into high gear this month. In Vermont, there are thousands of college athletes who have trained hard for the upcoming season. But athletes aren't the only ones who have been training. Keith Silva reports on the mascot at UVM and the people that make sure UVM is always ready to rally.
Walk a mile in these shoes, and you'll understand at least one thing. The suit gets hot.
Extremely hot. I always bring a change of clothes with me just because you're gonna walk out of the gym otherwise just soaking wet, which is not something people typically think about with mascots.
When Michaela Sullivan isn't studying for her degree in food science, she's one of 10 UVM students who lace up the skates, pull on the gloves, and put on the head of UVM's mascot, Rally.
You get to kind of be whoever you want without anybody really knowing, and obviously you have to stay within certain rules, but there's no boundaries or limitations as to what you can do.
Rally is the latest in a short line of UVM mascots. In fact, for its first 135 years, Universitas Veritas Montes, UVM to you and me, was mascotless. And then in February of 1926, the Student Senate asked the editors of the Vermont Cynic, the school's newspaper, to publish a ballot. The choices were the Lynx, the Wildcat, I would suggest, or none. Students were asked to send in their choice to the Cynic by the following week.
And then Nothing. It's unclear what choice the students made or if they even sent in their ballots. It's not until 3 months later, in May of '26, under the headline, Senate returned as a result of ballot by men's students, where a subheadline appears, Catamount to be mascot.
The article goes on to say that the vote took place in the corridor of Old Mill, only men were allowed to vote, and the other mascots up for consideration that day were the cows, camels, and tomcats. The last known wild catamount to be seen in Vermont was killed in 1881.
From the lofty peaks of Mansfield.
The last, and so far only, live mascot to prowl the playing fields of UVM was Rink. He enjoyed a storied but brief run as the official mascot in the fall of 1968. Bought by a South Burlington couple the year before, this puma cub went from 10 to 150 pounds in less than 2 years, before being shipped off in January of '69 to live out his life at Canada's Granby Zoo. For many generations of green and gold fans, the mascots they grew up with are Charlie and Kitty Catamount. Charlie started his life as a bachelor in the 1950s until he met Kitty in the 1970s. The two tied the knot at a UVM hockey game not long after Kitty's arrival. Charlie and Kitty reigned until 2004. Now retired to the UVM Athletic Hall of Fame, it's not known if the couple followed Rink up north to live out their days. The different styles of hats and t-shirts on sale at the UVM bookstore is enough to make a mascot's head spin, or bobble.
This is marketing in the modern age. If they could have sold Rink dolls in the '60s, they would have. With brands and branding bigger than ever, it was time for UVM to rally its base.
The Catamount is critical to my job.
Krista Balo is a UVM Associate Athletic Director and University Licensing Coordinator. Think of her as the keeper of the Catamount. She helped give the UVM mascot its makeover in 2004.
The look of the mascot is really aligned with the look of our primary mark, which we refer to as the VCAT logo. So it's really important for us to make sure that the mascot, when he is out and about in the community, that it really does tell the story of who we are as an athletic department, because he, again, is representing our entire university, not just varsity athletics. When you look at our VCAT logo, you don't necessarily see Charlie Catamount. Now you look at our VCAT logo and you see a representation of that catamount in Rally Catamount's face, which is also important. I think if you really look across the board at many Division I institutions, you'll see that there is a consistency between their brand and their logo and the mascot.
As much as there was a lovableness to Charlie and Kitty, no one uses two mascots. So when the mascot makeover was ordered, two became one and Rally was born. But does he have to look so, scary?
I wouldn't say scary, it's probably too strong of a word, but it just teetered that line, and for us there were certain things that we wanted to do to make sure that he still was a friendly, engaging mascot. So an example would be his teeth. The first rendering that came back, he had really sharp, jagged teeth, and we ended up asking them to please tone it down a bit, so they rounded the teeth. It's certainly a different look because Kitty and Charlie both had their mouths closed, and Rally has his mouth open, and he's much larger. There's actually padding that is in the suit to make him look a bit more muscular and strong, and that's important to us, though. We want him to look like he is a competitor.
Balo graduated from UVM in 2002, so she understands how graduates and fans develop a fondness to their school's mascot.
One of the most important pieces of what we do on the day-to-day, and that's being friends to our fans and hearing their voices. And there are people in the community who were, upset about Kitty and Charlie moving on and being inducted into the Hall of Fame because they identified part of their experience at UVM or post-collegiate experience as a fan with the university. So we were very sensitive to that as well. Change, as you know, is not easy. And now I'm happy to say that that was a very short stint, with the turnover. And he was quickly beloved by the community, which I really appreciate and value about where we live. And who we have as our fan base.
The UVM fan base has embraced Rally, fangs and all. For the students who get to be Rally, it's nothing but fun.
My dad, for one, brags about it all the time, that his daughter is the mascot. And so it's really cool. It's like a huge talking point if you use it in the right way, because applying to other jobs, I put it on my application sometimes just as like a little thing to add like a talking point to it. And people are really excited about it generally, and it makes you want to like continue in a way to keep that living on. And I can't wait to be able to like go back in life and talk to my like grandkids or my children and be like, that was me one day. And I was running around in the Rally suit. And it's really cool in that way, and to be a part of like a legacy almost.
To get to wear the suit comes with some rules. For one, Rally doesn't talk, and it's advisable to always keep your head up, especially when it comes to selfies.
People initially get really excited for the most part and go in for the hug or the high five, try to get a picture, and usually it's a selfie, in which case you have to get the head in the photo somehow. Generally involves some sort of standing on my tippy toes if they're tall, or crouching down. If it's a little kid, there's a 50-50 shot that they're going to bawl their eyes out. And the other chance is that they get really excited and follow me around and pull on my tail, pat me on the head if they're high enough up.
Big or small, short or tall, there's a little Rally in everything.
It's like one of the coolest things I've ever done by far. And you know, you just get to like, it's like you get to dress up and play around, and like who doesn't want to do that as an adult? You don't get to do that enough. And you know, it's definitely embracing my inner childhood spirit while I can. So definitely love that.
What does it mean to be a Catamount? What does it mean to put on the jersey? What does it mean to walk around this campus? And who ultimately embodies the ultimate student here at UVM? And the mascot has to represent who we want to be and who we are.
From not being on the ballot to being the big cat on campus. It's good luck to have a mascot if you want to start a rally. At UVM, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Our thanks to Rally for always being a good sport. And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.